Good evening, everyone, and welcome this evening to a guide to strengthen flexibility for those over 55. My name is Jill Ayres. I am a certified athletic trainer. I am the Director of Human Performance and Sports Medicine for Newport Orthopedic Institute. With this platform, if you have any questions as we go, please feel free to type in your questions. Tell me to slow down, tell me that you can't hear me, whatever it is that you need to give me for feedback, and we will try and get to all of your questions as we get going. So my first question for everybody before we start any kind of activity is, what are you capable of doing now? I think we were talking a little bit beforehand about everybody has a different level of activity that they're comfortable with. If you have something that you can do, if you can go mountain climbing, then do it. If you had struggled to get out of your chair, we can help you find some activities that'll help improve your basic strength and stability as well. And then the next question to ask is going to be, what do you want to do? What kind of things do you want to achieve while you're developing the right program for you? And then how are you going to do it? So with that being said, I'm going to get you started on just some things that are going to challenge you a little bit, give you some building blocks on whatever activity it is that you want to do, things that you can utilize while you create a program that's best suited for you and your needs. The first thing that I want you to do is to make sure that you know your limits. So if you've just had a knee replacement or a hip replacement and there's things that your doctor has told you not to do, then don't do them. If there's things that I advise you to do that you're not comfortable with, because we're doing this for more than just one group of people, please don't do what you're not comfortable with. You should never work through pain. You might get a little bit sore from doing activity, but I don't want any of you working through pain. Make sure that you plan your next move. And what I mean by that is make sure that you know where you're going to exercise. Make sure the area is safe for you so that you move any clutter out of the way. You make sure you're not sitting onto a chair that's got wheels on the bottom. Make sure that you have somewhere to put your hand in case you feel unstable when you're doing anything. Make sure you always have a stable base. And what I mean by that is make sure that you're solid and set with your feet. For example, if you stand with your feet together, you're more likely to fall over than if your feet are a little bit wider. And that's just for any activity that you're going to do, whether it's something that's a normal daily activity or if it's an exercise that you want to perform. Also making sure that you're aware of what's going on in your core, which is basically between underneath your chest and down to your hips. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we move forward. And make it fun. So as you're planning whatever activity it is that you want to do, you have to enjoy it. Some people don't like the idea of doing 3 sets of 10, or they don't like having to measure how many repetitions they're doing, or they lose count. You can do it more for time-based as well. So if you give yourself the goal of doing an exercise for 10 seconds instead of 10 repetitions, that will allow you to work within your limits. And you may be able to do more some days, which is okay, and less other days, which is still okay. But all the basics of this is we just need to move, okay? So if a turtle can do yoga, I can guarantee you that anybody can do some kind of activity that's comfortable for them, okay? So there's some things, I know that we kind of titled this presentation, I was going to teach you ways to cheat, and that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. So the way we cheat is we're going to make sure that you keep a nice strong base. Okay, so your feet should be, if you're sitting now and you want to try this a little bit, please feel free to get up and do this with me. Make sure that you take your feet and put them at least hip or shoulder width apart, okay? And have a little bit of a spring in your knees so that you feel like you're a little bit more stable. This will help you to be stronger with the rest of the activities that we want to do. When you bend, if we ask you to bend, make sure you're bending at your knees and your hips at the same time instead of straight over at your waist. The last thing we want to do is we don't want to hurt your back, and we don't want you to have to pull yourself back up. So realize that you are stronger if you use your hips and your knees and your feet all together. If you're lifting something heavy, whether it's a grocery bag or whether it's weights or your grandchildren, whatever it is, keep them closer to your body. Okay, that's another way to make sure that you don't injure joints and your spine and your shoulders and your neck. So the closer you can hold something heavy to your body, the easier it's going to be for you and more stable. If you have the option of pushing or pulling something, if you pull, you actually have you're a little bit stronger when you're pulling something. So if you go to push something out of the way, if you have the opportunity to change your direction and give it a pull, instead you have all of that weight behind you and you're keeping it closer to your body as well. The last thing is, if we think about more functional things, if you're taking groceries out of the bag and you put them onto the counter and you want to get them up over your head, but it's just a little bit out of your reach, one of the things that you can do to improve your stability is to prop your foot up onto something. Okay, so if you have a little step stool, you can put your foot on top of it just to give you that little bit extra strength to move forward, your whole body forward, to place things up onto a higher shelf. And we could talk all day about making things easier of where you put things, but if you keep the heavier things closer to your body and more level, so on the lower shelves or on the counters, then that'll help you to improve just general comfort, I think. So now if we're talking about exercise, okay, so the cheats that I gave you were a little bit more for your activities of daily living. So now let's talk about positioning for when you get into doing exercise or anything physical. It's all about your core. So the stronger your core is, it doesn't mean that you have to be super strong or ripped or have those cool looking abs. It just means that we have to be aware of where your positioning is. So if you look at the pictures that are on the screen for you right now, you can see that the perfect position is standing nice and tall, your feet about hip shoulder width apart. Your hips aren't going to be too far forward. So if you look at a tilted position, if your hips are tilted backwards and your pelvis is coming forward, then that's going to create a little bit of strain on your back. It's not going to be very stable. Alternatively, if you've ever seen a gymnast, the first thing they do after is do this kind of a position here. If you're stuck in this position, that's going to overload your spine too. It also helps you to hyperextend your knees, which is not a very comfortable position. So you can do this sitting or you can do it standing. You should be able to do it in any position. Is find your neutral. Okay, what that means is make sure you have your spring knees. Okay, you're going to tilt your hips forward. You're going to tilt them backwards. Find a position right into the middle, and that's your neutral. Okay, that's the position that's going to be the most comfortable and the strongest for you. Now, in order to maintain that position, you want to make the sound T and S together. So like you might sound like a snake, but it's a good stable position for you. So if you find your position and then make that sound, you can feel that tightening on your belly right underneath your hand. Okay, and then what you'll do is maintain that strength or that strong neutral position throughout the rest of your activities. Okay. So people will always ask me, well, what is the best exercise for me to do? I like functional activities. One of the best exercises you can do is walking, because that's going to keep you mobile and strong and healthy for the rest of your life. It improves your cardio, it improves your strength, it improves your mindset just because you're outside and you're getting some fresh air. But it's also functional because that's what you have to do when you get out of bed, is walk to the bathroom or walk to the kitchen. Even if you're not feeling well, you can walk around the house. Some people have asked me in the past too, what about treadmills? And treadmills are one of those things. If you're comfortable using a treadmill, then do it. But if you're not comfortable or used to walking on a treadmill, make sure that you get some assistance to make sure you're doing it properly, just because it can be a little bit daunting if you don't know how to use a treadmill, and it doesn't stop. Whereas when you're walking outside, you can do it with friends or you can do it on your own, and it's just one of the best activities that you can do. So let's talk about a few flexibility exercises. Okay, we're going to touch on just a couple of strengthening exercises, a couple of flexibility exercises, and a couple of strengthening exercises. Okay, there are hundreds and hundreds of exercises that we could give you. What I tried to do this time, if you've taken any of my classes before, some of it might feel a little bit similar. But what I've tried to do is pick a few things that are good for your upper body and then a few things that are good for your lower body, and then we can build on that, moving into, we can make anything harder. So the first thing that I want you to do, you can do this sitting or you can do it standing. Okay, so from this position here, you found your core, you're nice and strong, you're nice and stable. Pull that chest up and out, keep those shoulders back, and these are called angels. And the reason we call them angels is because it's similar to drawing angels' wings. This is going to help improve your shoulders, your shoulder flexibility, your upper back flexibility, and it's going to help get you in a better postural position. So from here, if you take your hands together, just like straight in front of you, okay, and then you're going to draw your hands straight up over your head. As you do that, breathe in. As you get to the top, you're going to come out, you're going to draw those wings, and you can start to breathe out as you come down, and you've just drawn the top part of the wings. You can come down to the bottom, draw the bottom part of the wings, and then come right back to the middle, okay? And try it again. You can do 3 to 5 of these at a time. You can do these a couple times a day. If you're working at a computer or at a desk, these are good activities that you can do throughout the day as well, and they'll just give you a good postural reminder, okay? So again, from here, hands together, draw your hands up straight to the middle, breathing in as you're coming out, breathing out and drawing your arms down and bringing your arms down back by your side, okay? And if you can only do a couple of these at a time, then that's a good place to start, okay? The next thing that I'm going to show you, again, this is just one simple stretch to get you for your lower body. There's hundreds and hundreds of things that we could show you, but this is a good kind of generic stretch to get your lower body moving a little bit. So from here, it's going to be a hamstring stretch. So you're going to sit on a chair, okay? Make sure it doesn't have wheels on it. Scooch your bum out to the edge of the chair. Make sure you're nice and stable though. Put one leg out straight in front of you. Keep your chest up nice and high again. From here, you're going to put your hands straight onto your hips, and you're going to lean straight forward with your chest, okay? What that's going to do is that's going to make sure that you get your hamstrings and not your back, okay? Some people like to do this stretch where they're reaching for their toes, and they say, why can't I feel it in my leg? It's because what you're doing is you're rounding your back. So if you can go just as far as you feel comfortable with your head up nice and tall, your chest forward, leaning straight forward until you can feel a gentle stretch. Again, no pain, just a gentle stretch, okay? I did legs yesterday, so I'm feeling that sooner than I should normally do. I just realized that was a bad idea right before this class. Again, you want to make sure you do both of these, you need to do both legs, not at the same time, but you want to make sure whatever you do on the right leg, you do on the left. This should be fairly safe for pretty much anybody. If you've had surgery or you've not had surgery, if you're active, this is still a good way just to hit those hamstrings without compromising your back as well, okay? Any of these types of stretches, I like to recommend holding them for at least 20 seconds. Do 2 or 3 repetitions, whatever you're comfortable with. And you'll notice that you start to feel better with all the rest of your activities as well. Okay, so now let's talk about some exercises that are going to help improve your stability to allow you to do bigger activities, okay? And I'll show you what they look like. So the first one, you're going to balance on one foot, okay? If you think about how you warm up for any other type of activity, you do something basic before you do a bigger movement, okay? This is great for everybody. What you'll do here is stand either with your hands on the back of a chair or a couch or a table, something so that if you do feel like you're going to fall, you can put your fingers onto something to keep you from losing your balance. All you're going to do is you're going to take one leg and you're just going to stand on that one leg. Okay? Be careful not to cheat and bring your foot in. If you block it onto the other leg, that's cheating. So you want to be able to just really balance on that one leg, okay? And hold that for a good 20 or 30 seconds. And if you struggle with that, start with 5 seconds. Start with wherever you are. Okay, so if it's 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, again, there's 100 ways to make these more difficult as well. Again, same thing on the other side. If you feel like you're not super stable, you can bend your knee just a tiny bit just to get your balance. You can put your arms out in front of you, but I'm actually not going to say that because I can't see you doing it. So let's make sure you hold on to something to start. The next basic exercise before you get into any major strengthening would be what's called a tandem stance. Okay, this is fantastic for you. So the standing on one foot. So if I go back again, these two exercises can be done every single day. Okay, these are going to be important for your balance, your coordination, and your stability long term. Okay, so your single leg stance, standing on one foot. Okay, you might get to the point where you can do it for a minute at a time, which is fantastic. Okay, and then your tandem stance. So from here, I call this the supermodel pose, right? If you've ever seen a supermodel walk, I have no idea how they stay standing upright. So you take one foot in front, then you take your other toe and put it right in the back of your heel, so you're in one straight line. For those of you who have done medicine before, you'll know that this is actually a concussion test as well. So don't think that you're concussed if you can't keep your balance, but this is something that we do test for balance, coordination, and stability. And this is, again, a great strengthening exercise to start doing every single day. Okay? And you hold that for no idea what's going on with my balance today, but maybe I should do these more. So after you've held that for about 20 seconds, then you can swap over and do the same thing on the other side. Okay, again, foot straight in front of you, right in the middle of your body, toe and heel together. Okay, slight bend in your knees. Make sure you're holding on to something so you don't feel like you're going to fall. Okay, a good 20 to 30 seconds. If there's any pain, then you need to stop. If you feel completely unstable, but you still want to do this activity, you can widen your stance just a little bit. Okay, especially if you've just had a hip replacement and you're not allowed to bring your leg over across the middle of your body. You can do it just a tiny bit wider, but just get used to shifting your weight from the front foot to the back foot. Okay, if you can't stand in that position for a long time, that's another alternative that you can do, is just shift your body weight. Okay. All right, shall we move on? I'm actually going to get through this pretty quick. So we'll spend a lot of time on a squat. How's that sound? So if any of you have ever seen a baby get into a squat position, they actually do a perfect squat. Okay. Now, before you start trying to do this position, please don't do this the same as this baby does in this picture. This is just showing you that the squat is actually one of the most natural movements that you have, okay? Which is shown by the baby in this picture, right? Their head is nice and tall, their butt is out, their knees are straight, their feet are shoulder width apart. This is a perfect squat. We have to squat in order to sit into a chair. We have to do the reverse of a squat. So you need your leg strength to get up out of a chair. You have to squat to put on your shoes, to use the bathroom. So there's lots of things to get in and out of a car. So it's really, really important that you practice some form of a squat, okay? So what I've done in this slide, I've kind of pivoted a little bit with the way I'm presenting this, and I'm giving you 3 options for one activity, okay? Because some of you might need a little bit more assistance. Now, even the first one that I've put up on this slide is doing it without your arms. So if you can depend on your legs primarily, you're going to be in a much better position. If it's too hard for you to get into a squat, into a chair, and off a chair without your arms, you can absolutely use your arms to push yourself up and then wean yourself into not using your arms, okay? So let's show you what a good squat would be for our purposes, okay? So from here, again, you're starting with your feet shoulder width apart. You're standing up nice and tall. You're in a good position with your core. You're going to hold nice and tight by making that noise, okay? Let me make sure that that's behind me before I try and sit. Instead of doing a complete squat with no support, start with a chair, okay? A chair behind you. Again, make sure it's put up against something so it doesn't roll away from you. So from here, you can see I'm going to push that up against the planter. So if I fall backwards, I fall into the chair and the chair doesn't fall out from under me, okay? That's one of the things that you want to prepare for when you're starting these exercises, okay? So from here, feet about shoulder width apart, nice and tall, good position, nice and tight. From here, you can come all the way down until you hit the chair, and then you can rest for a second. And then you bring your arms back up and you push yourself back up again, keeping your weight evenly distributed on your feet. Okay, if you're doing this, and you can't get down with one leg over the other, just go as far as you feel comfortable, okay, until you lose your balance. So from here, if you can only go down a quarter of the way, that's where you start, okay? Those you want to make sure, again, it's 3 sets of 10, 3 sets of 20, whatever you're comfortable with, or you can do 10 seconds, however many you're comfortable with in that 10-second period. An alternative, so if those are super, super easy, if you say, well, I can get into and out of a chair absolutely no problem without my hands. Some of you might say, well, I need my hands on my legs to get up. That's okay too. That's a good starting point. If you say that's absolutely no problem, super easy, we're going to get you to move on without touching the chair. So if you do a squat without touching the chair, you're just going to do it until you feel comfortable. No need to go more than about 90 degrees. I would suggest 70 degrees bend until unless you're super comfortable and you've been doing these all your life, okay? These are great to maintain, okay? And this kind of a position here, if you bring your arms forward, it keeps your balance for you, okay? And it helps to keep your back in a good straight position. If that feels super easy, you can hold something heavy, whether it's a water bottle or if you have a little dumbbell or you have something that gives you a little bit of weight. Okay, you can hold it close to your chest like you can see in that third picture. Okay, hold something heavy and then you just do the same position, okay, where you're squatting and it gives you just that little bit of extra. If you add weight, make sure you keep that belly tight, okay? But again, a squat is going to keep you mobile and strong for all the activities you want to do for the rest of your life, really. All right, so now this next strengthening exercise that I want to show you is a step up, okay? Unfortunately, what I don't have is a step. So we're going to imagine a step right in front of us. And what I didn't want to do is embarrass myself and step onto this chair and not be able to get down. So if you stand in front of, if you have stairs at home, or if you have a step going up into your house, or if you have stairs in your home, that's a good place to go. Or if you have some kind of step, it can be small to start with. I wouldn't recommend more than 4 or 6 inches to start, and then you can go a little bit higher as you feel more comfortable. If you do go to a gym and you want to utilize the steps they have there, you can do that too. Just make sure, if you haven't done this before, that you make sure that you're standing next to something to keep you stable that you can put your hand on, or ask for help. Okay, that's what they're there for. So step straight in front of you. So we're going to start with my imaginary step right in front of me here. Okay. Again, nice, good position here. Feet shoulder width apart, keeping your belly in a good position, nice and tight. My hand is near this planter. I'm going to step up with my right leg, and then I'm going to step up with the left leg. Then I'm going to step down with the left leg, so my right leg's doing the work in both directions. Does that make sense? So your right leg is working as you come up, and then your left foot comes up to meet it. Then your left foot comes down, because then your right leg is going to be working to bring you down slowly as well. The things you want to look out for when you're doing a step up is to make sure that you're not kicking your hip to one side, okay? And you can still see your toes. That's with a squat as well. Make sure that you can still see your toes. If you come too far forward, you might feel a little bit of pain right in the front of your knee, which is not good for anybody. So you're going to step up and then bring the left foot up to meet it. As you come down with your left foot, your right leg's going to be doing all the work, okay? Again, start with 5 of these and then stop and rest. And then you take a turn on the other side. So now you're going to go left foot up and then bring the right leg up to meet it, and then the right leg comes down. Okay, so it's up with the left and then down with the right. Okay, and they have to be intentional movements. They can be slow, intentional movements. Now again, there's probably 100 ways you can do step-ups. Some people do it for speed, some people do it for strength, some people do it alternating. These are more for stability and for creating a more functional movement pattern for you, so that if you ever get into a position, if you have to stop yourself abruptly, you're going to have the strength and the stability not to fall, and to be more comfortable and stronger for the duration of your life, really. Okay, last one we're going to do here is going to be what's called a wall push-up. Okay, again, if you're not comfortable with this, then don't do it. It's just a good strengthening exercise. That's the one thing that we hadn't done a lot of work on in my previous presentations was anything with the upper body, because it's really difficult to do strengthening in a group setting. But when I'm here on camera with you, I can give you a few things for your upper body too. The important part of a wall push-up, make sure that you're comfortable doing it with, your wrist, your hands, your elbows, your shoulders. Make sure that you're not going to make yourself worse or any conditions that you might have. Okay, so when you're doing this, again, we're going to do an imaginary wall. Or actually, I can use the back of my chair and just not go down all the way. I promise I won't fall. If you hear a crash, then you know that we're done. So from here, when you're in a wall push-up position, okay, you're going to make sure your hands are about shoulder width apart. Too close might cause some pain up into your neck. A little bit wider is okay if you feel like you need a little bit more stability, but about at least shoulder width apart. Okay, your feet are shoulder width apart. And again, if you don't feel comfortable with your body weight being on your arms, try putting one foot forward a little bit like we talked about before. That'll give you a little bit more stability with your body weight being on your feet instead of your arms, and probably a good place to start. So if you stagger your stance a little bit, put your hands straight in front of you onto the wall, and then just try to lean into the wall a little bit, keeping your head up nice and tall. You pinch your shoulder blades together, keeping your shoulders out of your ears. Okay, and then you're just going to push back until you feel a little bit of a movement. You might feel a little bit of soreness or a little bit of working right into your chest, which is okay. And you might feel a little bit of work happening in your upper back too, which is okay too. Again, you're going to come forward. You can do it in a corner of a wall too, if it makes more sense for you. So sometimes a corner will allow you to do a little bit less motion, or it'll give you a little bit less pushback. But either way, it is a good movement. If you're not comfortable with that, then don't do this, okay? It's just a good exercise to get used to in order to kind of open up your chest, strengthen your back, and strengthen your chest at the same time. Okay, so hopefully people aren't too tired at this point because I'm done. So please make sure that there's lots of things that you can do to keep yourself active, to keep yourself mobile, to keep yourself strong as well. It can be dance classes, it can be senior classes that they have at the gym. The silver sneakers or the silver and fit sometimes through your insurance will allow you to be part of a gym. And they do have classes specifically designed for you as well. If you're in a position to use a personal trainer, you can interview your personal trainer and make sure that they're comfortable working with you and your needs. Or if you want to continue to take classes like this, then we're always open to questions and helping to get you to the point where you're comfortable, you're safe, and you're strong, just to improve your normal everyday activities. So with that being said, I really appreciate you all being here today. Please let me know if you do have any questions. No questions today? Perfect. Okay, well, thank you all for attending. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to working with you again. Good night.